Derby County have had a second bid rejected from Sturm Graz for Scottish right back Max Johnston. This bid is reportedly valued at around £1.6 million as of right now. It's a very, very interesting move for Derby County, and a move which, in my opinion, makes a hell of a lot of sense. Now, obviously, we spoke about Max Johnston just a couple of days ago, and he is a very, very good player who could take Derby County to that next level. Now, it is obviously expected that Derby County will have huge competition in order to make this Scottish international theirs, but will they be able to get a deal done? Now, it is obviously being reported that there's clubs in England as well as across Europe who are trying to also get a deal done, but it appears that Derby County are the only ones who have put in bids as of today, and Derby County's latest bid was worth £1.6 million. Now, we're going to take a look at Max Johnston and how he would fit in at Derby County and why Derby County need to get this deal done. Now, if you have not done so already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments, but let's get into it. Now, obviously, for Max Johnston, he doesn't necessarily need to move clubs. Obviously, Sturm Graz, Austrian champions, playing in the Champions League. He has absolutely no reason to want to move on. He has no reason to want to sort of come to Derby, let's put it that way. Now, obviously, Derby County may be able to offer better money. Derby may be able to offer a better standard in terms of long term. But for me, he has no actual reason to sort of turn around and go, let's go to Derby. Let's force this move through to his agent. And I think when you look at the fact that there's other clubs interested across the course of England and Europe, I think there's no guarantees that we're necessarily the best club going in for him. Now, obviously, if you look at Derby County's transfer business so far this window, I think it's been very, very good. You look at Patrick Agyemang, you look at Carlton Morris, Ryan Brewster, the latest new arrival. We've made some really, really good signings for me. And obviously, what Derby County need to do is make sure that they have top quality across the course of every position on the pitch, essentially. Now, for me, if I was the football manager, you want at least two good players in each position and potentially a young lad who can maybe step up, worst case scenario, which I believe Derby County have a ton of young lads who can step up, especially in this sort of right back position. Freddie Turley can make the step up, Jake Rooney can flush himself out there, and obviously we've got the likes of Kane Wilson, Ryan Niambi and Joe Ward who can all play in that position as well, although I do believe that Joe Ward will either be heading out of Derby County or be playing on the wing for us this season, but obviously we'll assess that as the season progresses. Now, for me, I did put a tweet out over on Twitter not long after I saw this news saying that I believe that £2 million will get Max Johnston to Derby County. And to be completely honest with you, that is my personal opinion. I believe that it's going to be one of those deals where it's like, let's say 1.8 million up front and then say £500,000 in add-ons, maybe a little bit less than that, maybe a little bit more. But I think it's going to be very, very close to that. Now, obviously, when looking at this deal for Derby County, it is one which, again, spells a decent transfer fee. You look at Agyemang as essentially £5 million. Carlton Morris is a decent fee in that one. We've obviously bought in Ozo, Vyman, obviously Danny Bart as well. So we've bought in some decent players. Ryan Brewster isn't going to have been a cheap deal to get done in terms of that wage demand. But it's one of those for me where I certainly believe that Derby County, if they get this deal done, are certainly moving in that right direction. Now, obviously, when we look at this deal, you've got to look at the circumstances surrounding it. You look at a player like Kane Wilson, you look at a player like Ryan Niambi, the two what you'd consider senior right backs in the club at the moment, and sort of how would this move impact them and how will this move affect them going forwards. Now, for me, I think the major sort of turning point for this is that Ryan Niambi and Kane Wilson have both had massive injury problems since joining Derby County, despite the fact of how good they are as footballers. And I think you obviously can't sort of turn down that fact of just how good they are, but you obviously need that sort of availability. You need players that are going to be able to play Saturday, Tuesday. Now, I'm not saying Max Johnston will be able to do that, but at 21 years old, he's never really had any of those sort of major injuries, which the likes of Ryan Niambi and Kane Wilson have both had. If we go across his career so far, he's had 3 injuries, only missing 10 games in total across the course of the last few seasons. And for me, I think this is the right move for Derby as they look to progress in the division and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that Max Johnston is going to come into the Championship, come into Derby County and be the best player in the division. I'm not going to say that he's going to be the best right back to ever grace the earth, but he's got that room to grow. He's got that ability as well already. The fact that he's played in the Champions League, the fact that he's playing for the Austrian champions, I think it speaks volumes. And obviously, I think already this season he's made a couple of appearances across the course of the OFB Cup and the Austrian Bundesliga. Obviously, both of those games he's played at right back, but it's one of those for me where I certainly believe that he has that ability to sort of take Derby County to that next level. And I'm not saying that Derby County then have to get rid of Kane Wilson. I'm not saying we have to get rid of Ryan Niambi. There is nothing wrong with strength in depth. Now, obviously, the big conversation then is going to be about like registration slots and things like that. Now, I do believe that obviously, if you look at Derby County's squad, there's not that many slots available, but I'm not 100% sure whether goalkeepers get registered or not. If the goalkeepers don't get registered, we've got 3 extra slots, at minimum 2, because I don't believe O'Donnell will be registered unless it's worst case scenario. Whereas, obviously, if goalkeepers are registered, you've got 3 slots taken there automatically, minimum 2. So it's one of those for me where I think Derby County are obviously in a good position in terms of sort of making moves happen and trying to sort of get the right players in the building. And I think we've done that in regards of Patrick Agyemang, Carlton Morris, in regards of Danny Bart, Andy Vyman, Rhian Brewster, obviously David Ozo's come back as well. I think we're in a very, very good position where the more players that we bring in, the better this squad looks and the better that we look on paper. Now, obviously, football is not played on paper. It isn't played on the stat sheets. It is played on the grass. But if you've got a decent squad on paper, you can normally go and put in decent performances. And obviously, we're all really looking forward to the start of the Championship season, which is coming up in just a week, less than a week's time now, where we'll be facing up against Stoke City. Hopefully, we can get this fee agreed and get Johnston in the building by Tuesday, Wednesday, and hopefully then we can sort of move forward and sort of have him involved at the weekend. But obviously we're sort of in that position right now where we don't really know how it's going to go. Obviously no bid accepted as of yet. We've put in 2 bids so far, £1.4 million and the latest one of £1.6 million, which has been rejected over the course of this weekend. Now, if Derby County are able to pick up 21-year-old Max Johnston, it will be a massive, massive coup for the club, and it will be a move which sees Derby County take that next step in their development as a football club and in their development back in the Championship. And I think you've only got to look at the squad that's currently available for them for the opening day of the season, and I think you cannot complain with the players bought in. You cannot complain with the players available. Obviously, there's still a couple of players that we're still waiting to return. You look at Selverson, obviously Agyemang, the new signing. Vyman's not quite fit yet. We haven't seen Rhian Brewster. Osborne and Ozo still not obviously played for the main team. You look then at Owen Beck, Matt Clark, still not quite available. We're obviously still waiting on Langas, we're waiting on Wilson, and we're waiting on that of Curtis Nelson. But how is this all going to shake out for Derby County? Do you believe that Derby County are going to be able to seal this deal for Max Johnston on this next week? Do you think we can get the deal done by the time we head into obviously that first game of the season? It's obviously a massive sort of spell for Derby. I've always sort of been up and down on sort of how I feel about transfer windows closing once the season has started. For me, the window should close the day before the season starts, and that's the first game. I'm not talking about on the Friday, we play on the Saturday. The window should close on that Thursday, season starts on the Saturday, and that's how it should be done. And every league across the world should do the same thing and should realistically, for me, play in the same sort of time periods. I know in some countries that's not possible, but in a lot of countries it certainly is. And I think obviously Derby County's transfer business is going to go right on till deadline day. Eustace is hoping to have a few new faces in over the course of the next few days, but we're going to have to wait and see if he can get them over the line. Now, obviously, if you have not done so already, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.